I was 17, a shy student who was even nervous about talking to girls. That's why when Mrs. Wilson accused me of harassing female students, it was so shocking that I initially thought it was a joke. But it wasn't a joke. And this false accusation nearly got me expelled from school. Hello, if you're subscribed, let's jump right into the video. This story will make you furious, but justice will be served in the end. Ready? Let's go. Let's hit that like button right off the bat. I absolutely love reading your amazing comments. I'm Jake, now 21, but this story takes place when I was 17, and in my senior year of high school. I was what you'd call a classic introvert, quiet, studious, and honestly pretty awkward around girls. I wasn't the popular kid. I had a small group of friends, mostly other guys who were into video games and comic books. I got good grades, never caused trouble, and my biggest social anxiety was having to give presentations in front of the class. When it came to girls, I was painfully shy. I'd had maybe 2 conversations with female classmates all year, and both were about homework assignments. I wasn't dating anyone, wasn't trying to date anyone, and frankly was more focused on getting into college than on social interactions. This is important context because what happened next was so completely out of character for me that anyone who actually knew me should have immediately known it was false. Mrs. Wilson was my advanced algebra teacher. She was probably in her late 40s, had been teaching for over 20 years, and had a reputation for being strict and somewhat old-fashioned in her views. From day one, Mrs. Wilson seemed to have a problem with me, though I never understood why. She'd call on me more often than other students, critique my work more harshly, and make subtle comments about young men these days that seemed directed at me. I thought maybe it was because I sometimes worked ahead in the textbook when I finished assignments early, or because I occasionally corrected minor math errors she'd make on the board. Nothing disrespectful. I'd just quietly raise my hand and point out the mistake. But Mrs. Wilson didn't seem to appreciate this. She'd get visibly annoyed and make comments like, "Some students think they know better than their teachers." Still, I never imagined she actively disliked me until the incident that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in March. I was sitting in my usual seat, middle row towards the back, away from most social interaction. The girl who sat in front of me, Sarah, had dropped her pencil and it rolled under my desk. "Excuse me," she whispered, "could you get my pencil?" I reached down, picked up the pencil, and handed it back to her. "Here you go," I said quietly. "Thanks," she smiled. That was it. The entire interaction lasted maybe 10 seconds and consisted of 6 words total. But Mrs. Wilson saw this exchange, and her expression immediately darkened. She stopped mid-sentence during her lesson and stared at me. "Mr. Thompson," she said sharply, "is there something more important than my lesson going on back there?" "No, ma'am," I said, confused. "Sarah just dropped her pencil." "I see. Well, perhaps you can focus on mathematics instead of other distractions." The way she said other distractions while looking between Sarah and me made the whole class turn to stare. I felt my face turn red with embarrassment. Sarah looked mortified too. She mouthed sorry to me, and I just shrugged to let her know it wasn't her fault. But that incident seemed to flip a switch in Mrs. Wilson's mind. Over the following 2 weeks, Mrs. Wilson began watching my every move with an intensity that made me incredibly uncomfortable. If I walked past a female student's desk to sharpen my pencil, she'd track my movement with her eyes. If I happened to be partnered with a girl for group work, which she assigned, she'd hover near our table, clearly listening to our conversations. If I so much as glanced in the direction of any female student, she'd clear her throat loudly to get my attention. It got so bad that I started avoiding any interaction with girls in her class entirely. I'd take a different route to my seat to avoid walking near any female students. I'd only look straight ahead or down at my paper. I even stopped raising my hand to answer questions because I was afraid of somehow doing something she'd interpret as inappropriate. My friends started noticing my weird behavior in that class. "Dude, why are you acting so paranoid in Wilson's class?" my friend Mark asked. "She's been watching me like a hawk," I explained. "I think she thinks I'm up to something." "Up to what?" "I have no idea, but I was about to find out exactly what Mrs. Wilson thought I was up to. On a Friday afternoon, I was called to the principal's office over the intercom during my last period class. Everyone in the room made the usual ooh sounds that high schoolers make when someone gets called to the principal. I genuinely had no idea what it could be about. I hadn't done anything wrong, hadn't been in any trouble, and my grades were fine. When I walked into Principal Martinez's office, Mrs. Wilson was already there, sitting across from his desk with a serious expression. "Jake, please sit down," Principal Martinez said. "Mrs. Wilson has brought some concerns to my attention about your behavior in her classroom." I sat down, completely confused. "What kind of concerns?" Mrs. Wilson leaned forward. "Jake, I've been observing your interactions with female students in my class, and I'm concerned about your behavior toward them." "I don't understand," I said honestly. "You've been making several female students uncomfortable with your attention and advances," she continued. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. "What? I haven't made any advances on anyone. I've seen you deliberately seeking out interactions with girls, making comments, and creating situations to get their attention. That's not true, I said, my voice getting higher with panic. I barely talked to anyone in your class. Principal Martinez looked at his notes. Mrs. Wilson has documented several incidents over the past few weeks where you've engaged in what she considers inappropriate behavior. Like what? I asked desperately. Mrs. Wilson consulted her notebook. 2 weeks ago, you deliberately engaged Sarah Martinez in conversation during class time. She dropped her pencil. I just handed it back to her. You've been staring at female students during class. I look around the room sometimes. That's normal. You've been positioning yourself near girls during group work and making them uncomfortable. You assign the groups. I sit where you tell me to sit. But I could see that Principal Martinez was taking her accusations seriously. Mrs. Wilson was a veteran teacher with 20 years of experience. I was a 17-year-old student. Who was he going to believe? Principal Martinez explained that the school would need to investigate these allegations thoroughly. We take any reports of harassment very seriously, he said. While we investigate, I'm going to need you to avoid any unnecessary interaction with female students. But I haven't been harassing anyone, I protested. The investigation will determine that, he said. In the meantime, you'll be moved to a different math class to avoid any further incidents. The word harassment was now officially associated with my name in the school's records. Are you going to tell my parents? I asked, dreading the answer. Yes, they'll need to be informed about the allegations and the investigation. Walking out of that office, I felt like my world was collapsing. I was being accused of something I didn't do, something I would never do, and something that could ruin my reputation permanently. Word spreads fast in high school, and somehow rumors about the investigation began circulating almost immediately. By Monday morning, I could feel people staring at me in the hallways. Conversations would stop when I walked by. Girls would actively avoid making eye contact with me. My friends were confused and supportive, but even they seemed uncertain. Dude, what exactly did Wilson say you did? Mark asked. She said I was harassing girls in her class. Were you? No. I barely talk to girls. You know how I am. Yeah, that's what's weird about this. You're like the shyest guy I know. But the damage was spreading. Other teachers started treating me differently. I could see them whispering with Mrs. Wilson in the hallways. Some would watch me more carefully during their classes. The worst part was that some female students seemed genuinely afraid of me now. Girls who had never even spoken to me would change direction in the hallway to avoid walking past me. The conversation with my parents that evening was devastating. Jake, my dad said carefully, we got a call from your principal today. I had been dreading this moment all day. I know, I said. It's not true, Dad. I didn't do anything. He said there are allegations about inappropriate behavior toward female students. I haven't behaved inappropriately toward anyone. Mrs. Wilson has it out for me. My mom looked worried. Jake, why would a teacher make something like this up? I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like me. Maybe she misunderstood something. But I swear to you, I haven't done anything wrong. I could see doubt in their eyes, and it broke my heart. My own parents were questioning whether their son was capable of harassment. We believe you, my dad said finally. But we need to take this seriously. If there's any truth to these allegations, there isn't, I said firmly. Then we'll get through this together, my mom said. But Jake, you need to be extra careful about your behavior until this is resolved. The fact that my own parents felt the need to tell me to be careful showed how serious this had become. Over the next 2 weeks, the school conducted their investigation. They interviewed Mrs. Wilson multiple times, getting detailed accounts of each incident she had witnessed. They also interviewed every female student in my math class, asking if I had ever made them uncomfortable. This was almost worse than the original accusation. Now everyone was being asked to think about whether I was dangerous. I was interviewed several times, having to defend normal behavior as if it were evidence of misconduct. Mrs. Wilson says you deliberately sat near Jessica and made comments about her appearance. I sat where she told me to sit for group work. I don't remember making any comments. She noted that you frequently stare at female students. I look around the room sometimes. I'm not staring at anyone. It was exhausting defending innocent behavior as if it were criminal. 3 weeks into the investigation, someone mentioned that the math classroom had a security camera that recorded continuously. Principal Martinez decided to review the footage from the dates Mrs. Wilson had cited in her complaints. What the camera showed was devastating to Mrs. Wilson's credibility. The day she claimed I deliberately engaged Sarah in inappropriate conversation, the video showed Sarah dropping her pencil, me handing it back, and both of us returning to work. 8 seconds. 0 inappropriate behavior. The day she claimed I positioned myself near Jessica and made inappropriate comments, the video showed me sitting exactly where Mrs. Wilson assigned me, discussing the math problem we were supposed to solve. Most damning of all, the video showed Mrs. Wilson obsessively watching me, taking notes about completely normal activities, and interpreting innocent interactions as sinister. When confronted with video evidence, Mrs. Wilson's story crumbled. The cameras don't capture everything, she insisted. They don't show his tone of voice, the way he looked at them. Mrs. Wilson, the videos show normal student interactions. There's nothing inappropriate in any of this footage. Under pressure, she finally revealed her real motivation. Young men today are different. They're more aggressive. I could see where this was heading with Jake. I was trying to prevent something from happening. So Jake didn't actually do anything inappropriate.
Not yet, but I could tell he was going to. She had falsely accused me based on speculation about what I might do in the future. Within 24 hours, I was cleared of all allegations. The investigation was removed from my record, and Principal Martinez apologized personally. Mrs. Wilson was placed on administrative leave immediately. By the end of the school year, she had been terminated for making false accusations against a student. The official announcement helped clear my reputation, though rebuilding trust took time. My parents apologized for doubting me, and most students eventually realized the accusations were false. Mrs. Wilson's termination became final, and she struggled to find another teaching position. Word had spread through the district about her false accusations. I graduated with honors, got into my first-choice college, and learned valuable lessons about standing up for truth even when authority figures abused their power. The security cameras saved me. Without that video evidence, this story might have ended very differently. Mrs. Wilson's biases and assumptions nearly destroyed my future, but the truth emerged, and justice was served. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is stand up for yourself, even when everyone else believes the lies. Thanks for this story. Have you ever been falsely accused of something serious? I'm curious how you handled it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe so you don't miss these drama stories. See you in the next video.